mosque. And we're saying that there are very important things that you need to know to be better than you are at the moment. Every day I have to try and improve on my public speaking skills, on my presentation skills. In my country, many of the scholars will ask me to do their PowerPoint presentations for them because mine have become more and more interesting all the time. Because I try new things, I try new techniques. Instead of just being a straightforward PowerPoint, now I've got graphics and I've got videos that are included in them and I've got all sorts of things. You try to go beyond what everyone else is doing. And I'm proud of the fact that I try to evolve the whole time in my presentation skills. So this is something that you must pride yourself in. Don't just be, that's the way it's done. Try to go further, beyond what everybody else is doing. Try to bring as many people into what you're doing as possible in your presentation. I went the other day to the Islamic Research Foundation's offices, and they took me into where they have their technical department, where they do all the video editing, how they do the sound, how they do the overlays, the graphics, everything. I was amazed. And I saw this cassette tape. It was literally the same size, maybe a bit smaller than this. And I looked at it, and it takes 4 terabytes. A cassette. You know, by the time this video was made, people were buying 2 terabytes and thinking, well, we're never going to need more than 2 terabytes. Yet, the recording that this program is being done on is a cassette that takes 4 terabytes. Can you imagine how much quality and content goes into making a disc, a video, a recording device that takes 4 terabytes just to make a show for you at home? So the technology that Peace TV uses is way beyond what they actually require. They don't need to use the technology they're using. They could be 3 years behind in the technology and it'll be quite fine. But they won't. Why? Because they want to have the best quality, best sound, best graphics. Look at the way the program is introduced. The technology that goes into it will be used for a 30-second advert. The quality has to be perfect. And they'll do it again and again. Trust me, they do it again and again and again. To do a 30-second program, just for the viewers at home, to get the best quality. Now, in your public speaking, don't go for the worst quality. Don't slap something together in your presentation in the last 5 minutes. Spend time. Give quality presentations. Make sure that the graphics that are going on with your talk are the most relevant. Don't have a cutout from a newspaper, take your cell phone camera and take a photo of it, and then put it onto the screen. They can't see anything anyway. Your shaky hands made it all messy. They can't see what it was that you were supposed to show. Get good quality graphics to make sure that you show people properly what they're supposed to be seeing when you're doing your talk or lecture. Today we're going to be talking about bodybuilding. Not that bodybuilding. We're talking about the bodybuilding of your talk. But if you want to associate physical bodybuilding with this bodybuilding, that would be perfect. So as you are thinking about a bodybuilder, perhaps you like gymming, perhaps you like going and working out in the gym, think about it in exactly the same way when we talk about how to build a body of your talk. Just like you would have to do certain things to build up your body and to have a nice, good abs, good biceps and triceps and all the other seps. I don't even know all the terms for it. I've been gymming most of my life, and people ask me, so what are you working on, your quads or your biceps? Or I say, I don't know, my body. I don't know the names of the groups. I just know that it helps me stay healthy and fit, and I can keep doing what I need to do. That's all I care about. But some people want to know the exact terminology. So I'm not going to give you the terms. I'm just going to tell you how to do it. So when we are working at the body of our talk, just like we would in our physical bodies, we must select the main parts of the body that we want to change. Some people want to have big legs. Some people want to have big chests. Some people want to have, that 6-pack or 12-pack or whatever it is. I don't know what it is. 2-pack. Some people in my country have a 1-pack. It's just this big, nice, big 1-pack. So whatever pack you're wanting to work on, you have to decide that before you go to the gym, before you start your workout regimen. And in the same way, when you're doing your talk, you have to decide what point that you want to do. What area do you want to work on in your talk with your main body. So you must select the main points that you want to work at. Are we going to be dealing with people's emotions? Are we going to be dealing with political issues? Are we going to be dealing with economic issues? But don't jump too much between all the different things. It's very, very difficult to make something strong if you're jumping all over. Just like when somebody goes to gym, they'll work on specific issues to build that strong. So they'll maybe do 3 repetitions of that same body part to make it really, really strong, but they won't go 5 or 6 or 7 points on that body part because it just tires out the muscle. Or they won't do 1 or 2 because that's not good enough. So there'll be certain repetitions that you do. So the same thing when you're doing a talk. Don't cover 40 different topics in that. Just stick to 2 or 3 or 4. But this has to be decided before you get to even preparing your talk. How many points am I going to raise per lecture? When I prepare this talk, how many points am I going to bring up per episode? This is very, very important. Next, you have to add the flesh to those points that you've added. So if you've got 3 points, now what are you going to put onto that? How are we going to put that flesh on? In the same way, if you're going to a gym, there are certain things that you need to take. You need to make sure that, I'm not talking about the steroids and all that nonsense, because we want to be natural, we want to be real. We don't want any steroids in our talks. So when you're getting those body parts that you want to build up, what are you going to take to supplement it? What are you going to help build it up there? So there are supplements that you need to take. Some people will take multivitamins, some people will eat raw eggs, whatever it is, maybe they'll eat chicken, whatever it is without the skin on. Something to build onto what you have started. So those 3 main points, 3 main body parts that you're going to be dealing with in your talk, what is the flesh that you're going to be building around it to support those points? And then explain the significance to yourself of what these sub-points are going to be. So maybe you have 3 points, and each main point has 4 sub-points. Explain to yourself why you need to put those sub-points in before you explain it to the audience you're going to be talking to. What is the relevance of having 4 sub-points? Is it because it's going to be easier for people to remember? 3 points, 4 sub-points. Or should there be 3 main points and 3 sub-points per point? So this you've got to make clear to yourself first. Is there relevance in having it? So this is, if you look at it, it's quite a logical way of doing it. It's a simple way of doing it. It's a way that we would do it if you went to a gym, if you're going to be working out in a gym. And for some reason, my computer just switched off, but now it's back on again. So you make sure that you don't have things like that happening midstream in your talk, because that can be very bad. When you'll stand and you go, this is why sometimes the guys who say we should have paper instead of computers, it can be good. So let's continue where we were left off. So we said that building up different parts of the body are very, very important in presenting your talk or your lecture. When you are having your sub-points, so you've got your 3 main headings that you're going to do. Then you've got each main heading has got 3 sub-points. Those sub-points, how are you going to arrange those sub-points that people will remember them? Is there going to be a catchword that is going to be said the whole way through? So every time you bring up a sub-point, you will lose something like, say, we don't add to Allah's message, His message adds to us. An example of this is such. Point 2, we don't add to Allah's message, His message adds to us. And explain. So that you see we have this repetitive sentence that we are following through on the subheadings to help people retain and remember. So even if they forget everything that you said, they'll remember that one-liner. It's called your statement. It's a statement that people will remember the whole way through. Or it can also be referred to as your thesis, that people will remember when you're doing your talk. When you prepare your lecture or your talk, write it out as if you were going to say it, and then rewrite it, and then rewrite it, and then rewrite it, and then rewrite it. Why do you have to rewrite it so many times? Because the more times you write it, the more new ideas will come up. The more faults you will find with it, and the more times you'll correct it. Hardly ever do I find that I can do a talk and write it once. Even talks that I have written out, that I presented before, when I present a similar talk or the same talk again, I find that I change it. So make sure that you write it out over and over again. Writing for speaking is not something that you should do. You're writing for speaking, not for reading. So you must be careful that when you write out your lecture, it must be how you would naturally say it. But don't write it for reading purposes. You know what I mean by that? Explain it to you when we get back from the break.
The Brahma Sutra of Hinduism is Ekam Braham Dyutanaste, Nehna Naste Kinchana.
Common beliefs.
There is only one God, not a second one. Not at all, not at all, not in the least bit.
Common faith.
Islam, in short, means peace acquired by submitting your will to Almighty God.
Common teachings.
My Hindu brothers and sisters, go back to your scriptures, go back to your Vedas and realize that God is one. God is one.
Authentic analysis.
Follow the established truth of the scriptures, and then only we Muslims, the Hindus, can come together and build a great Indian nation.
Dr. Zakir espouses the fundamental commonalities between the two different faiths in similarities between Hinduism and Islam in Truth Exposed, starting from this Wednesday at 9 p.m. and repeat telecast at 7:30 a.m. UK on Peace TV.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're talking about preparing our lectures or talks or speeches that we're going to give when doing dawah. We're going to do a public talk or lecture. And we said, write for speaking, not for reading. Write for speaking, not for reading. So in other words, when you're writing out your talk or your lecture or your speech that you're going to give to people as a da'i, write it as how you would speak it, not as how you would read it. There is nothing worse. And it's very, very popular in my country as well, especially on the radio programs, that you'll have like a sisters or brother, they'll do their program on the radio, and they're reading the lecture, and you can hear they're reading it. It's almost like, and we today are going to be speaking about the fact that we need to be the best person that we can be. You see, they're taking the pauses where the full stops are. This is how you speak when you read. And so what happens, it doesn't flow naturally. Especially on radio, I've got a perfect face for radio. No one can see what I look like. So I enjoy radio. It's very, very nice to do, much more than television. But radio is easier because you can have your notes and you can just read them. But you know what? Just as it is on TV, they can see when you're reading. They can hear when you're reading. So you want to be natural. Even if you can read your notes while you're doing radio, it's better not to. It's better to have it natural, speak naturally. So when you do your notes, you can have your, like I have here, the entire speech written out, which has been closed most of the time. But I just use the point forms. Because if you have the whole speech, you'll end up reading every word that is said, and then you cut off from the people. So make sure that you stay engaged with the people. Just as important as the body was, and if you think about going to a gym and working out and getting fit, the best part of your workout is the cooling down at the end, where you stretch all your muscles out, you make sure everything's perfect. You don't want to just leave the gym after doing your workout. Then you're in pain and agony, and then the muscles don't develop properly, so you have to stretch out. So the ending is just as important as the body and the beginning. Don't just think, well, because I gave a good introduction and I gave a good content in the middle, the ending is not important. Ending is just as important as the beginning. So make sure that you restate what you have already stated in the beginning at the end. You want to tie the beginning and the end together. So don't just end off. Summarize the main points at the end, if possible, if time permits. If you've done your preparation properly, you'll be able to do that. Make sure that you call the audience to action in your ending. Don't just end it and say, well, that was my talk. I hope it motivated you. Tell them, what can you do? How can you get involved? What action can you take on the information that I've given you? So calling people to action, as important as the rest of the topic, if not more so. That was the point of your talk in the first place. It's to correct people, to motivate people, or call them to some type of change in their life. Otherwise, you've just wasted your time doing that lecture. Want to motivate people, to call them into action. And always conclude, if possible, with an example that they can take with them. Remember, this is your final opportunity to leave something with them. So give them an example. Maybe something from the life of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Something that they can walk away with and chew upon. Because most people were sleeping the whole way through the lecture. And as you got to the point where you said, well, I haven't got any more time, in the last moment, like you say, I've only got 5 minutes left. I see the man telling me I've only got 5 minutes left. Then people go, oh, okay, I'm listening now, because that means I'm going home now. Or the tea's coming, or the snacks are coming, or the cakes, or whatever it is, are coming out. So people wake up for that. So probably you got the most chance of getting the message across in the last 2 or 3 minutes. Maybe even the last 60 seconds. So everyone, you'll see it. Trust me, you notice it as a speaker. When there's 2 minutes left, everybody's like, everybody's taking notes because they know time's up. Hey, we can get out of here at last. This is the time. Forget about everything else you said. You only had 20% or 30% listening for this. Now you've got 90% listening. Make sure you end powerfully. Give something that they can take and think about for the rest of their week. A one-liner. That's the only time you use one-liners. You don't use one-liners as slogans, fundraising tools, whatever. But at the end, you can end with one-liner. Like, don't change Allah's message. His message changes you. Don't go there thinking it's all about your do's. It's about your who's. See little one-liners. It's not about your do's. It's about your who. It's who you are doing this for. It's not about what you did, how great you are. So whatever it is that you want to leave something like that. You might come up with your own one. There's no reason that you cannot come up with your own one-liner. You don't have to go get somebody else's old school one-liner, even though there's nothing wrong with taking one of the proverbs, one of the famous expressions. But we're clever guys now. At home, kids come up with the most amazing things. Let's listen to what they say. Ask them, say, what's a good one-liner that I can use to end off? They will come up with one. You go, wow. Why? Because kids' brains are not clouded with all sorts of issues. Kids are very imaginative. I love reading like teenagers and kids' essays and that they write for school. They are so good. When we get older, we start clouding our brains and, I can't say that, can't do that. They come up with brilliant one-liners. Most of my one-liners are taken from like 6, 7-year-olds. They give me these one-liners. What goes with this? And they say, why didn't you say this? Like, it's not about your do, it's your who. That's what a kid told me. I thought, hey, that's excellent. This is what we need. So try to end off powerfully with a good one-liner or something that they can walk away with and chew upon, like chew on it when they leave. Okay, so this is very, very important that you end with a bang, just as important as you started with something that will captivate them. And to try to be brief in your conclusion. Don't make the conclusion longer than the introduction and the body. Your introduction, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Your body, the majority of the talk, and your conclusion, 2 to 3 minutes. So some people's ending and say, and my last point is, and they go on and go on and on, and my last point is, and they go on and on and on, and my last point, how many last points have you got? And that's terrible. I used to do that. If you look at some of the old talks I did, were like that. And this is the last point, and another idea comes in. And the last point is, like I had like 4 or 5 last points. It mustn't be like that. The last point means the last point, like 30 seconds. If you say the word, this is my last point, you've got 30 seconds to make that point. And then it's over. You can't have a last point that goes on for 2-3 minutes. Then it's not a last point. Then you've started a new speech. Okay. So these are things you're going to have to practice. Everything, practicing. We spoke about how to have the body of the talk, and we've spoken about how to end the talk, but we haven't actually spoken about how to start the talk. Because that's the most difficult part, and that's why we've left it to the last. In South Africa, we have our dessert in the beginning, and then we eat our main course, and then there's no dessert at the end. I don't know why they do it that way. They just do it that way. I prefer to have the starter, like your salad, your main course, and then the dessert at the end. But we're going to do it South African style for the sake of here. And we had the main course, we had the salads, now we are going back to the dessert. You're going to start at the dessert. The beginning is very, very important. You need to start with a bang just like you ended with a bang. It needs to be captivating. I was at a mosque the other day here in Mumbai, India. And one of the speakers, when he stood up, he started speaking just like this. He started talking very like this, reading, telling us what his introduction is, how he's going to be speaking to us about important things. And I thought, oh, this is going to be the longest 35 minutes. It's going to be a very long day. And the next minute he stood up and said, and we must. I was shocked. I was like, what? He was doing this very, very slow 5-minute introduction. And the next minute, like a thunder crack went off. I don't know if that's his style or that's the way he normally does it. This is the weirdest way to start. It's all, normally you start with a bang and then you slow down later. He did the other way around. He started like didn't even look up at anybody. Whole thing was down, like very quiet. I thought, oh, it's going to be one of those. And then he started getting dynamic and jumping around and doing all sorts of things. So we want to start off with a very, very good introduction. Grab their attention from the beginning. If it's 5 minutes before the story gets going, you're probably going to lose a lot of people. Even those that woke up afterwards go, huh? Oh, this guy's still. We want to keep them right in the beginning, get their attention, get them excited, get them motivated, get them to listen. Lay out what you're going to be talking about. State what you're going to be talking about. Give them a reason to follow. This is why Peace TV puts so much attention on the promo. If the promo is good, people will watch. If the promo is lousy, not done well, people aren't going to watch and go, okay, that ain't going to be interesting. Huh? You know, sometimes you see those documentaries for Discovery Channel, and it's got all this adventure and crocodiles and guy being pulled in and jumping back. The promo was good. So you want to make sure that when you're doing your promo, in your talk, which is your introduction, that you are making it interesting and you're laying out why people should even bother listening any further. So you're giving them a small taste of where you're going. What is the purpose of your talk? What are the points that we're going to be looking at? Not all of them. Don't give the sub-points. Just give the 3 main points. We're going to be looking at that, that, and that. It's going to help you to be more successful in this, this, and this. And now we will deal with what we're going to be talking about. So it's your layout. It's how you're going to keep people involved in your talk. Introduce the topic and the thesis and antithesis. What your main point is and what the controversial part or what the opposite of that point is. So we are going to teach you why it's important to submit to Allah, and we're also going to look at why people refuse to submit to Allah. So you want to give the pro and the con. Make sure that that is very clear in the beginning as well. So you keep people that agree with you and the people that may not agree with you. You can pull both into the talk. And then obviously give a reason why people should be bothering to listen and take notes. Make sure you encourage people always when you're giving a talk to get a pen and paper. Allow them, if you're talking to people at home, say, we're going to take a break. After the break, make sure you get a pen and paper. Encourage people to participate in what you are doing. Send emails, send text messages, or whatever it might be. Well, talking about winding up, we have to wind up for today as well. And so if you want to join us again, please do so. And remember, bring your pen and paper. And join me, Areeb Islam, and all of us here. So from us, until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.